Welcome to the Scale Forward podcast. Today, we're exploring the evolving landscape of MSP security and the journey of building a successful security solution. I'm thrilled to have George, the CEO of Trustwrx, who's revolutionizing how MSPs deliver enterprise-grade security to small and medium businesses. Welcome, George.
Happy to be here.
Well, thanks for jumping on. So we were chatting previously before, and you told me that it's your favorite topic to talk about. So I wouldn't mind starting with the big picture, if you will. What's the current state of security for MSPs and their SMB customers?
Current state is pretty dismal. A lot of people don't really realize it, but the internet's operating today on protocols that were invented 45 years ago. The last serious update to those protocols was 25 years ago.
Wow.
If you look the technologies on which the internet operates, it's amazing that it works at all. But the problem is it was built with no security or privacy in it whatsoever. And that is the fundamental problem with the internet today. The lack of security, the lack of privacy has enabled more than 95% of all traffic on the internet to be dangerous and unwanted. So we're all paying a tax. For every 100 packets we receive, 95 of them we don't want to get, and somebody's got to do something about that. So the MSPs are on the hot seat. And as a result of the pandemic and the whole work from home dynamic taking over, MSP business has taken off. And the problem is that everybody is saying, I've got half of my workforce working from home, and we have no way to protect those home networks or that traffic, while 70% of the threats to my medical database or my law firm database are coming from the home now, because that's where the easy target is. And on larger MSPs who have larger SMB customers, they're saying all of our VPs and senior salespeople working from home, we're having to deploy VPNs to their home networks and put in routers to try to control a private channel between the home and the company's database. Well, nobody likes VPNs for all the right reasons. And they've become a Trojan Horse now, because if a VPN is hooked up to any computer or server that has access to the public internet, you're wide open. And the Trojan Horse is a really good definition of the role that the VPN is in today. There is no major breach out there today that was not enabled by VPN technology. So on the one hand, you've got creaky old technology here, which is the only means they have to secure their campus networks and the home worker, and they're kind of stuck. And so the MSP today looks after your software licenses, your certificates, your VP, keeps your antivirus updated, and generally looks after your network. And today they are desperate for a better solution that secures the entire network, including the home networks. And that is where the biggest growth opportunity is for the MSPs today, is providing that type of service to the small and medium enterprise so that they can secure their home networks in a sort of a brand new an ecosystem approach that is not all fragmented between disparate devices and a VPN here and a VPN over there. And they're all kind of stuck at this moment. We see among the MSPs that we talk to desperation for better security. Regulatory compliance is now coming down hard on all the professions to be regulatory compliant with their security practices. And they've really got nothing to offer. They have to write an annual security audit report. Their insurance company has to be involved. And it's a pretty dangerous and dismal situation out there right now. So the overall climate for the MSP and their customers is one of sort of a desperate need for a much better approach to overall security.
That's quite scary. I think about VPNs as just a way to maybe watch Netflix in a different company with a different family account or something, in a different country, I mean. But I didn't, the probably average Joe, businesses probably might understand, but the average Joe might not understand that that's actually the gateway that these people come in and can get all that stuff, and the Trojan horse, if you will. So it's what reminded me to get rid of the VPN, come up with something else. Okay.
Well, and by the way, Russ, you shouldn't confuse the new consumer VPNs from the dozens of companies that now provide those with a commercial corporate VPN, which is a secure pipeline from one point to another. The consumer VPN will allow you to hook up from Perth, Australia to London and browse BBC video. That VPN is combined of a secure tunnel, but when it gets to the other end, it proxies onto the open internet. So the secure tunnel is not where the value is, it's where the proxy addressing protects the identity of the person who's doing the searching or watching the video. Right. So those are two different animals, and there's a lot of confusion in the marketplace today around that subject.
Guilty. Thanks for clarifying. Okay, well, there's an obvious, I mean, some of the questions I had was, why was this a problem worth solving? I think that's pretty obvious. Forgive me for even wanting to ask that question, but tell us about the Trustwrx story then. How long have you been CEO there, and what was the initial sort of specific gap that you saw to solve this problem? What made you want to start solving this? Something happened?
Yeah, I had a prior company that was in the internet email security space called Weblock. And we founded that company a few years ago and went off and delivered private email services. And it was highly secure. We were able to patent a lot of those technologies. But back in those days, nobody cared about private email. That was pre-Snowden. And so that company went along, and I sold out of it about 4 years ago. And we got involved in a big dispute over that situation. The bottom line was I ended up with all of the technology and all of the patents and everything back in my hands. Through that, we learned a great deal about internet security and how it really worked. And out of that came the idea that, yeah, we were able to secure email, but what do you say we secure the entire stack so that everything that moves is secure? The next logical place to take it. And we were working on that from 2020, mid 2020, we started to get really serious about that. February 2021 comes along. And what happens? The pandemic hits, turns the world upside down, and created this new opportunity for us. So we pivoted our approach to the technology into securing the entire stack. The MSPs became the obvious market focus. There's 40,000 MSPs in the United States, 130,000 MSPs worldwide, and they've all got the same fundamental problem now. Problem created mostly by the pandemic. And so, like everybody else, we kind of went to sleep during the latter part of 2021 and into 2022 as that market totally reshaped itself. And boy, it has emerged up now being a really serious marketplace. With a $12 billion TAM in the United States alone. And you can't sneeze at those numbers. Nope. So that's what drew us into it. In the email world, we use 2 layers of encryption. In Trustwrx, we're using 3 layers of encryption. And that gets us a number of fabulous benefits, along with being totally immune to the whole quantum cryptography threat. So that's how we got here. I founded this company about 4.5 years ago. We are still in software development. We're going to be at customer sites mid-year this year. Okay. and we have built a complete new stack that is triply encrypted, processes packets of any protocol, runs on a standard consumer grade router, which we then call a gateway, will install in a doctor's office or law firm or anywhere you want to put it. And we're also providing a method of networking it all together called mesh networking. So the VPN just evaporates, goes away, and is replaced by a much more powerful technology. And to that, we're also adding a brand new policy engine that eliminates the IT geek in the back room entering commands on a screen to try to control packet traffic. We're going to return control of the device relationships to the office manager all the way to grandma. So when grandma hangs a new baby camera in the kids' room, she can get on the computer, and if she's got the approvals, she can go in there and say, just install the new baby camera. Mom and dad's laptop, iPhone, and computers are the only devices that can interact with that baby cam. And it's all done with checkboxes. Today, you can't do that by any means. So there's obvious needs all over the place. And when you take the baby cam model and you take it into industry, onto the factory floor, where their biggest threat is some guy's going to drive by with a laptop, hijack a node on their wireless network, and be in the factory floor. And our technology shuts that down.
Very interesting. Do you have any, I mean, you mentioned it, it's going to save them money, I guess, because they can get rid of someone in the tech department a lot safer. What's the install process look like?
Well, that one is the big thing we had to overcome. Our technology is called SuperNets, SUPRNET. We have a product called SuperStart. And so the MSP will ship any standard off-the-shelf router that's OpenWRT capable, and they all manufacture a line of these types of routers. The MSP ships it to the customer's site right from the fulfillment center. They plug it into the wall, they plug in the Ethernet cable, send an email to the MSP and says, we're hooked up. And the MSP takes over, gets on a program we created called SuperStart. And with 5 clicks, we grab the existing router and pull everything out of it, stuff it into the new router, turning it into a gateway. It then phones AWS cloud services, and like that, the new network is up and running.
Good to go. Right.
Yeah.
That sounds good. That sounds like my old man would be able to figure that one out.
That's the goal.
I mean, I think it's great. Obviously, it's a great idea. Sounds like a lot of people need this. Outside of MSPs, do you see people like my mum and dad, my auntie and uncle putting this in their homes eventually? Is that where you're also going to head?
Yeah, that's exactly where we're headed. We don't see ourselves in the consumer side of it, so I don't think you're going to find us on the end cap at Costco. But they get their services from some ISP, and that ISP would be our partner that would provide that to them.
Right. Okay. Are we able to switch to growth of Trustwrx and how you plan on scaling this right up? Or are you able to share numbers with me now in terms of revenue where you're at?
We have no customer.
So what's the plan? What are your milestones that you're chasing? What's the plan to really scale this thing? I'm interested in where your head's at.
Yeah, we have access to the complete mailing list of all of the MSPs in the United States and Canada. So that's a great place to start from a marketing standpoint.
So just a lot of fingers on keyboards, put the word out, send some emails. Obviously, George, you've got connections in the industry, and
yes,
probably going to leverage them to begin with, right?
Yes, yeah. And we see our primary marketing thrust to be at the MSPs, ISPs, system integrators, anybody who's in the networking space. And we let them own the customer, install the system, manage the relationship and we support that's our business model. And we're not in the hardware business. So we don't have to inventory, fulfill, ship, any of that stuff.
Right. What's some of the milestones that you're chasing for
2025 has us at beta test by Q3 of this year, and concurrently launching a nationwide marketing campaign, US and Canada. And immediately thereafter, we intend to be in Europe. We've designed our business model around an international partnership approach, because this is a pure SaaS type play. And some MSP, we've got an MSP, or not, he's a big ISP in Geneva, who's really champing at the bit to get a hold of this. They look after all of the small private banks, family offices and things in Switzerland, and security to them has become a huge issue. And right now, there's nothing they can do for them. US, Canada, and as soon as we can, we're going to be in Europe.
Okay, and that nationwide campaign is what you just touched on, just the emailing your list.
Yeah, it's a combination of email and podcasting and a lot of market visibility on the web. Today we are an engineering firm. A year from now, we're going to be a marketing company.
Yeah.
So that's the way that has to work.
So maybe you could touch on your previous business then, and how you think you're going to bring that experience into this one. What do you see some of the hurdles being?
The primary hurdle, we believe, is the dogma that currently controls the thinking of the network space. You're dealing with system engineers who have developed all of these skills to build out VPNs and look after customer sites. And we're asking them to change, to a certain degree, the way they approach doing it. And as we all know, people don't like change. And so we've tried to design things like the SuperStart product that makes the change just brain dead simple. And because the relationships between the MSPs and their customers are based on very fragile technologies, they're naturally very twitchy about it. And part of the culture of the security space is they don't like having to change anything that somebody else hasn't already proven. So we're going to suffer through that. We're aware that that's the primary problem. We don't see any direct competition from the major players in the security space. A few of them have tried to reap old wine into new bottles and bring enterprise level security down to the MSP space. And it hasn't worked out at all. Because
why? That's another question I had. Why has it taken till now for this tech to come about, or something to be done like this? You don't know?
Who knows? I mean, the big guys, if you look at the security solutions from the major players, they are incredibly complicated. They are made up of a dozen different little disparate components, and you're not going to sell that to an MSP. This has to be something that is brain dead simple, that does the job, is easy to install, easy to maintain, and relieves them of the complexity and the costs associated with managing all of that complexity. So the major players, 2 or 3 come to mind, that have tried to get into this space, suddenly just disappeared. And because they got down there, I think, and started talking to the MSPs and were told, you got to be kidding. That's never would fit in our business model. So.
Okay. And right now, outside of adapting to your solution, the whole system's clunky. They're spending money they don't need to. And so it's just fascinating to me that nobody's kind of done this already, or tried, like you said, and been able to do it. What point did you see a shift outside of yourself in this landscape that this was becoming prevalent? Was it the work from home that kickstart this idea off?
I think it was the inversion to work from home primarily that caused it. You know, we still have 40% of the workforce working at home. And in big companies, I mean, my patent attorney, I asked him a few weeks ago, I mean, he's working from home since the pandemic and he works for a major law firm. And I said, what's their position on you working from home? He said, well, they struggled with it a bit. And the deal is I have to be in the office 2 days, any 2 days out of any 2-week period. And that has hooked everything up and they've been able to make that dynamic work for them. And he said, I guarantee you, as soon as Trustwrx goes to market, you're going to be talking to the IT guys in my firm because this patent work is highly sensitive stuff.
Yeah.
And he said, and they installed a VPN to my home network. They sent it, he lives 60 miles away from the company's head office. They had to send a guy to his house, install a Cisco Meraki box, implement a VPN, call up a guy at IT back at headquarters, have him bring the other end of the VPN up, set up all of the policies for it. Took him a whole day to turn on that VPN. We have an MSP in the LA basin, right in Los Angeles. And he said, if I have to send a guy out to install a VPN, it is more than a one-day exercise because he's got to drive across the LA basin for starters, and go through all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And he said, if I could ship a box to the guy's home and have him plug it into the wall and plug the internet into it, and we could take over and bring him up, that means a lot. The average cost to install a VPN remotely today is $2,500, exclusive of the equipment cost. So we collapse that whole thing. And VPNs are very fragile. There are over 16 places where a VPN can break at either end. And about 4 years ago, Forrester reported that at any one time, worldwide, 20% of the installed VPNs were down. So again, VPN is a 1998 technology intended for dedicated networks. The cloud comes along and all of a sudden the VPN is the most dangerous thing you can put in your network.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. And a lot of cost savings. Do you have any idea? I mean, you mentioned it. Do you have any idea how you're going to charge for this service and monetize? Is it upfront, monthly? What does that look like? Do you know?
Yeah, we have to follow the economic model that the MSPs use. Some of them charge on a per seat basis. Some of them charge on a bundle basis. So if you have up to 30 devices, it's this much per month or by the seat. And some MSPs look at a doctor's office with 2 or 3 docs, some nurses and clerical help, and they say, okay, you've got 20, 25 devices. We will take care of you, deliver our entire product suite to you for $5,000 a month. And that model works for everybody.
Okay.
So they get out of having a nickel dime, the per seat thing.
Yeah.
And the doctor just sees a fixed monthly cost. Seems to work. Our administrative software has to accommodate whatever the MSP uses. So we make a recommendation. We ran 5-year numbers month over month at $7.50 a seat per month, $10 and $15, just to test our cash flow and the revenue drive in the whole thing. And we can make it work no matter what that number is. And those are standard numbers in the industry.
Right.
We don't care literally what the MSP wants to use because the software will accommodate whatever he wants in the setup.
Okay. For the next sort of 5 years, I mean, you've read online blogs and I've read some of yours. 2030 is the number everybody keeps mentioning. Where do you think you'll be with Trustwrx within the next 5?
Within the next 5 years, we will have moved beyond the MSP markets into corporate markets, possibly into government and defense. We'll be expanding internationally. And we anticipate getting bought out in the 5-year time frame.
Okay, so you are looking to sell? Going to get
Yeah,
yeah.
and
Okay.
I don't think we're an IPO target. I've been up the road on 2 IPOs. If I can avoid it again, I certainly would.
How do you go international with it outside of, so you said Europe. Was there a specific reason for Europe? Did you have contacts there?
We have contacts, and I've done a lot of prior business in Europe, and it's an obvious, sophisticated marketplace. And all the software is fully internationalized. We can accommodate any language only for the price of a translation, and so that's not a issue. And we'll be seeking partners with established market presence in other countries and other regions. There are certain countries where we're going to be rather slow to go, India and Australia being 2 of them, because both those countries require registering the encryption keys with the government. And that certainly doesn't rub us the right way, but it doesn't keep us from selling into those countries remotely. So there's market dynamics there that we just have to be sensitive to.
That's interesting. So I usually thought whatever the UK, whatever the Commonwealth is doing is what we're doing in Australia anyway. But you're saying you could go to UK, but the way Australia does things, no?
Yes. Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Well, there's no boundaries anymore. The geographic boundaries don't mean a thing. It does mean we can't open an office in Sydney, and run servers in Australia, but that doesn't mean that I can't have servers in Singapore, and take care of Australia.
You've been down the road on a couple of IPOs. You're launching Trustwrx. Do you have any advice for founders on what they should be doing to launch a new category or new market?
Well, a new category and a new market is the toughest thing to do. And I've always preferred to go into markets where there have been prior entries that have struggled or done a mediocre job, but they have proven the market. I've been looking for competition for us here, so we have somebody to bounce off of. We haven't been able to find any yet.
That's why I prompted with the new idea or the new market, because by the sounds of it, there is no one doing what you're doing. So
not that we've been able to find, but my advice to somebody coming into a new market and space is, number one, be very wary of venture capitalists. Those guys are dangerous for a new company, and it's private equity funding is where it's at now. And just in the past year, we've seen a shift in seed funding valuations that are very favorable to high-tech startups. And what used to be a good seed round at $1 million a year 18 months ago, today that number is 2 million, because the investors have awakened to the fact that if we give this guy $1 million, that'll get him in plenty of trouble. If he gets $2 million, he has a much better chance of making it. So there's a shift in the thinking of private equity. And now private equity is the way to go on the front end of a startup.
Right. And what's the minimum requirement to start getting looked at from these PE firms, do you think? Where do they need to be?
Well, everybody always wants you to have customers and revenue. If you can touch the investor with an interest in what you're doing, and sell them on the dream, the idea before you get to customers, and you've got a dream team that has a track record that can back up their claims to produce company, market, product, everything that you need, the money's out there.
Is that where you ended up, George? Did you raise? I didn't ask you that question.
Well, we did something rather unique. We had the patents out of my prior company.
Right.
And we have new patents. And we put a patent licensing program together 18 months ago through a company in London. and we have sold patent licenses to 4 companies you may have heard of: Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the revenue from those patent license sales has underwritten all of our software development to date. I still own the company outright. We haven't given up any equity. And we're a year and a half into development, and we'll be at market before the end of this year. And in a wonderful position then to do a Series A offering as soon as we get market traction.
Right. I must congratulate you on that. That's a unique approach that maybe not many founders would be in a position to be able to do, let alone think of, right?
No, it's very unique that I was able to leverage a prior situation into a unique program to bring in what is actually booked as revenue, patent license sales, instead of giving stock away for dollars.
Very unique. All right, George, I've got one last question. What keeps you up at night when you think about Trustwrx? What's at top of mind every time you go to bed?
Right now, top of mind is right now it's software design, because we're building a suite of very unique products that have never been built before. We've got, I don't know if you looked at the team on our website, but we've got some really top marketing guys on board, and we're already strategizing about market approach, messaging, all of those things. I'm not worried about the size of the market. I'm not worried about the market need. I'm not worried about a fit. If we worry about anything, it's making sure that we maintain conversations with potential customers so that we get it right. One of the problems we have is that if I went to any MSP and said, "What do you need?" he would have no way of telling me that what he needs is what I'm building.
You have quite a lot of information about a broad range of topics. So I'd like to encourage people, where's the best way that they could learn more about Trustwrx, potentially connect with you if they're interested in the service when it comes about, and also where they can learn more about you as an individual?
I've got a big entry on LinkedIn. Yeah, the Trustwrx website is a good place to go. It's being rebuilt from scratch right now. The one that's out there is a little out of date. But that's the case with most websites. And I'm publishing on Medium more and more because we're finding that a really great place to get market presence with what we're doing. I've got one article out there that I think I sent you regarding trusted networks, and that's gotten a good reaction. Because these are brand new concepts, but they're resonating with people at that level.
Okay, George, well, thanks for jumping on and sharing your journey with Trustwrx. Valuable insights here for the security landscape. Hope the people listening to this learn something, and I look forward to potentially keeping in touch with yourself as well. And yeah, ping me and further down the line if you want to jump on and talk about some quantum computing stuff. I think that would also be fun.
Well, you saw the article. It's an interesting space. And tomorrow, the big post-quantum computing conference is taking place, 2 days long. All these quantum guys are showing up somewhere, and I'm going to get on and listen a little bit, I guess.
Okay.
But our considered opinion is that quantum computing has no future whatsoever.
That's a hot statement right there. All right. So thanks for joining us, George, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Cheers.
Take care. Thanks very much.